What's going on, YouTube family? Back with episode 7. Today I'm painting a 1999 Chevy Corvette. The paint code is WA382E. Once again, WA382E. By the way, if you have not yet hit that like and subscribe button and go ahead and share it with somebody, go ahead and go on over there real quick and hit that like and share button, and go ahead and subscribe, by the way, too. All right, so as you can see, I have my rear bumper where I have a repair on it on the side and in the middle and on the other side, and then on the actual car itself I have a repaired door. It's like a little spot in the middle of the door. And then, being that everything is going to be lining up together, meaning the bumper is going to be lining up with the trunk lid and the two quarters, we are going to blend into the quarters and the trunk lid. Alright, so this being a pewter color, the undertone for this called for G5, so that's what you see me spraying. But I'm basically spraying a base coat version of G5, and that is the correct tone that it called for. So I'm putting G5 in all the repaired areas on the bumper, and then you'll see me apply the same G shade or base coat G shade to the actual car itself and the repaired on that the middle of that door. And the reason why I'm doing that is because everything is going to be lining up when the bumper goes on the car, and we want everything to match. So in order for everything to match, we have to do exactly what we're doing to the bumper to the car. So everywhere that the bumper is going to line up on that car, that's where I'm going to apply my G5 G shade. Whenever I'm tacking the car, I always try to make sure that I'm blowing in all of the areas where dust can come out of. If you do a good job with your cleaning, that shouldn't happen. But sometimes you can't control it. So basically, I'm going over everything with a tack rag and making sure that any debris or anything that's in the air that landed on these panels are off the panels. And yeah, sometimes I even do the plastic as well. So it just depends on the cleaning process. Alright, so when I put G shade in the middle of that door, the reason why I didn't take it all the way back to the quarter is to save the shop on materials. This being a transparent color that could potentially go blotchy, I didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to get good coverage on that quarter panel, being that it's already covered. So I just put a little bit over the repair, and I'm going to actually take my color over the quarter panel, but it's not going to take me 10 million coats to just try to achieve the factory refinish. So that's why I did not take the G shade all the way back to the quarter. So as you can see, I'm blowing my base coat G shade just to make sure that it's completely dry before I apply my first coat of base coat. Very, very important step. The paint will react if it's not completely dried and you're putting layers on top of wet paint. So make sure your paint is completely dry, as stated in previous videos, before applying another coat of base coat. Alright, so I'm not going to lie. When I first started applying my first coat of base coat to my edges and then onto the side of this bumper, I thought this color was going to be a complete nightmare. The reason being is it was going on super, super light and transparent, and I was thinking that it was going to take like 10 million coats to cover, but you'll see as time goes on in this video that it's actually not a bad color. One thing about golds, silvers, or any transparent color is that you always want to make sure that you're spraying everything uniform, because they tend to go blotchy, and you always want to make sure that each time that you're laying down your base coat that you are trying to make sure that your metallics are laying down even. If they're not even, then what'll end up happening is you'll have like it'll look blotchy, but it also look like a darker streak if it's heavier in one spot than the next. And the only way to fix that is to try to bridge it. So basically, what you would have to do is go over with the same base coat over in that area once again, but kind of make it even out, and then continue on to with the next pass. And then after that next pass, then it might take one or two control coats just to get those metallics to lay down even. All right, so moving on to the car. Using my iWater Supernova, I'm about to apply a wet bed. And basically what that is clear base coat. And I'm going to be laying that down and then blending my color into that. I have a formula for that for 12 ounces. It is 321 parts of the T490, 32 parts of the T492, and 47 parts of the T494. That makes up 12 ounces. If you need more than that, you can just double up and go on from there. I'll make sure that I put that in the description as well. So right now I'm putting that 490 where that door is going to be meeting up with that fender, that front fender, and that's where I do not want color at. And then also you see me put it on the quarters, and I put it on both quarters, and basically I'm going to be starting with my color, just trying to blend that out. So the first coat, as you see, I'm spraying it even. I would say maybe like a 50% overlap. And it's already, first coat, looking very, very transparent. You always want to make sure you hit those edges as well. But yeah, first coat's looking very, very transparent. So you'll see me go all the way from the back where I have the G shade G5, and then I'll just take that color all the way up to the front of that repair on that door, and then I'll just stop my base coat and just blend it out into that 490. All right, so coat number 2. And by the way, I want to go ahead and shout out Don Kevo for the production. Um, Go follow him on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that. I think it's produced by Don Kevo or either Don Kevo. Yeah, so go ahead and check him out. He is actually the person behind all the production of my videos. So moving on, I'm going over all of my edges on this second coat because there's no need to waste the materials. Those are already covered. That's why I sprayed them on the second coat. So as you can see, I'm spraying the same way I sprayed the first coat. not too heavy, but everything is even and uniform. Just trying to make sure, again, that everything is going down or laying down nice and even. So when I was spraying this second coat, as I continued to spray, I thought that I was getting very good coverage, but then when I came back in with my light, I quickly saw that I was going to need another coat of base coat. So that's a tip right there. Every time that you're in the paint booth and you're spraying and you are having doubts about a specific color that you're spraying, always after the first coat, second coat, always check with your light or some type of light, sunbeam light, just to make sure that you're fully covered before applying a control coat and your clear coat. So I didn't mention before, but the gun that I'm using is a DV1, and I'm actually spraying at 13 psi. Sometimes when I'm spraying colors like these, if I need it to go a little lighter, I will bump my air pressure up. But this one seemed to work out pretty fine with 13 psi. So that's what I continue to spray at, 13 psi. That's usually what I spray every color with this gun at, and it seems to be working out just fine. I know there's a lot of talk out there about the Wacom and the sodas and stuff like that, but I mean, the Velvis is a pretty good gun as well. So if you're tuning in from the Velvis, go ahead and hit me with the sponsorship. Hey, my email's in the description. You know what I mean? We over here, we spraying. We got these videos coming out every week, and we're spraying with the DV1. I got 2 of them. So go ahead, we waiting on y'all. Just go ahead and hit me with that sponsorship. All right, so back to your regular scheduled program. We're tuning in with Auto Picasso TN here. Onto this car, I'm about to put my second coat blending into that 490. As you can see, it is still transparent. Dang. But it's all good though, because those metallics are still going on nice and even and uniform. And, we're just going to need to put another coat of base coat to get that coverage that we're trying to get. So as you can see, this is the correct variant to use for this car. My color is blending out very well. It's just that I need to apply an additional coat to get the coverage that I'm desiring on this particular car. I stated before that when I am not blending, I reduce my base coat at 20% or by 20%. But when I am blending, I reduce my base coat by 30% because I need my base coat to flow out more and I need it to be a little bit more reduced. right, so I want to check everything with my light, make sure that I'm completely covered. As you can see, I am completely covered. I think there's one spot on the left side of this bumper where I just put a little bit more color at because it looked a little bit transparent, but for the most part, everything is covered. The spot on the door is covered, and everywhere that I have G shade is completely covered. Like I said, you always want to make sure that you're carefully checking because some colors look like they're covered and they're not. So it's always best to check with some kind of sunbeam light or some type of light. Alright, so now I'm about to put another coat of 490 in my blend areas because I'm about to do that control coat, and I don't want all of my metallics just landing in the same spot, causing sand piling. And then if I were to do that without the laying down the wet bed, then when I go to put my first coat of clear and second coat of clear, it will look very, very seedy, and it'll look like a bunch of fine trash, and I do not want that. So that's what that 490, laying down that 490 wet bed helps alleviate. All right, so a lot of people with their control coats um, tend to turn down their air pressure. Me, I continue to spray at 13 psi. It works pretty well with this gun, and I just, as you can see, I speed up just a little bit, but I'm just laying it on just like I did my base coat, but a little further away from the panel. And whenever you're doing your control coat, you want it to basically go on with a little bit of a mist. So nowhere near how you would put on base coat, but just a little bit further away, and you want it to go on with a mist. Now, if you're too heavy with your control coat, then it will go blotchy on you, and you do not want to do that. So always just take a step back a little bit and lay down all your metallics and make sure that they're even, and then you're ready for clear coat. The gun of choice that I'm using for my clear coat is an Iwata Supernova. This gun actually recommends you spray at 29 psi. I actually spray at 39 psi. The reason being is that I feel that when using 29 psi, it sprays a little bit too soft. And my first gun that I sprayed clear coat with was a Sada, so I mean it might have a little bit to do with that, but at the same time, I do not like how soft that it goes on. So at spraying with spraying with 39 psi, it actually is not too. It doesn't spray like a water hose, like it doesn't spray like sawdust, but it actually sprays on pretty nice and decent. So I find that that works for me. And there's no particular way that you have to spray your base coat and your clear coat and even your sealer. But in painting, you just find what works for you. It's all some of it's trial and error. Some of it you just have to experiment and do what you know to your liking, adjust things to your liking. I'm real big on following routines. That way you get the same results every single time. And the only thing that I will change, only way I would change my routine is if I'm adding to it or adding value to my routine. But other than that, I keep the same routine every single time, and I get the same results every single time. There's things that happen here and there, but I mean, there's no such thing as perfect. You just have to adjust to certain mistakes that you make along the way, and those mistakes will not be made because your routine will be strengthened off of those mistakes that were made. So it's all in your routine, and it's all about adding value to your routine as well. I'll give a quick example. So when I first started painting, um, I used to make the mistake of, like, when I cleaned my base gun, I didn't blow my base gun out completely after cleaning it out with glass cleaner. So what happened was I would basically go back in the booth on another job and go in and put my color in that same gun. And before I purged it, uh, without even purging it, I would just go into spraying, and then my first coat of base coat, my base would look, a little crazy because whatever was still in that gun would come out on that first, right when I pulled that trigger. So there was two mistakes that were made. One, not blowing my gun out completely after cleaning after a job, and then or cleaning my gun after a job. And then number two, the second mistake that I made or made back in the day was when uh, basically not purging my gun before I started spraying. So those are two things that I corrected and has not happened again. And that's what I mean by adding value. You only add things that's going to add value to your routine. So now my routine is when I clean my gun, I basically blow that gun out. I put the air hose back on it to make sure there's nothing in it. And then I put a cap over it to make sure that nothing, no debris or anything is getting on it, just sitting in my cabinet. And when I'm ready for to use that gun, I put my color on, and before I start doing spraying anything, I make sure that that gun is purged. So those two mistakes that were made back in the day uh, when spraying were corrected, and they don't happen anymore. So you only want to add things that's going to add value to your routine. So I forgot to mention that the clear that I'm using is PPG's EC 530. Between each coat with this clear, you want to let it sit for or flash for 8 to 10 minutes. What I usually do, I usually like to follow PPG's guidelines to the T. Um, Once again, you get the same results depending on the climate of the booth that you're spraying in, or the weather outside. You have to make adjustments, but all in all, PPG recommends on the 530 clear uh, 8 to 10 minutes. So I usually set a timer on my phone for 8 minutes, come back in the booth, and I lay down another coat of clear. I think they had the reason why they have it like that is because, like, for example, if you with the ECS 530 and 520, or pretty much any clear, if you wait too long between coats, then the longer you wait, the more orange peel your refinish will look. But if you get on it too early, then that's how you get sags, or that's how you get solvent pop, because the clear has not had enough time to actually set before applying that second coat. So it's always good to follow your spec sheets when it comes to spraying these clears and sealers and whatnot. I think Sherwin-Williams actually has a clear that you can go back to back on. Um, I think it's a high quality clear. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm a little interested in seeing or knowing how that works. If y'all have heard of a clear like that, please feel free to hit me in the comments and let me know what y'all think about that. I know PPG has a clear called, I think we call it 2000. That, I mean, even with that 2000, you have to let it flash for just a little bit before you put that second coat on. And definitely with 2000 being a fast clear, you definitely want to follow the spec sheet on that, because if not, then it locks up really fast and it'll look really orange pilly. So it's always best to follow your spec sheet on all of these clears. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but as I'm spraying this bumper, it has a lot of different areas where clear needs to get down in the grooves. So I can't spray it regularly. So basically, you'll see me angle my gun. And the reason why I do that is so I can get coverage in the inside of those areas that I can't get to with spraying the bumper regularly, and it also prevents runs from happening. If I was to get too heavy in those areas around those circles where the taillights go, I run the risk of getting a run, and it's hard to get runs out of areas like that. So if I could help it, I always just try to angle my gun in different ways to where I could achieve that coverage that I'm trying to achieve and get the coverage that I'm trying to get as well. So I'm gonna do a quick walkthrough just to show y'all. A lot of times I once I get done clearing, just to make sure that I don't get any runs or any sags, I try to aim the bumper up. All right, so as I wrap this episode up, I just want to express my gratitude. If you watched the whole video, if you clicked it, if you watched 10 minutes of it, uh, just feel free to hit that like button, subscribe button, and comment. If you have any questions, I'll get back to you promptly. But until next time, stay humble and keep going.